Okay, hello YouTube. This is Mike of Mike's Trainz. Wanted to give you a quick video today showing the progress I was making on my route, especially on the western end of the main line. This was the area I gave you a preview of last time when in the last video I made, and I showed you a new section that I was working on. I showed you this area with the bridge and the creek, and I said I was going to be making a lumber industry out there, which I did. So I want to show that off a little bit, and I can show you what assets I use to make that and a few things about that. But this is something I showed on the last video. This was this bridge with this creek, and I was using the river spline instead of the original water for this section, and you can see how that turned out. Of course, it doesn't blend perfectly with the other water, but creek water might be, you know, a little muddier or different than the regular river water anyway. I think it looks quite good. I like it. I probably will use that again in the future to do that. I like the way this area turned out a lot. A mix of of course, the low definition trees for the background mixed in with some higher definition trees in the important areas. Mixed in with some of these bushes that I'll show you those in detail in a little bit too. I really like these bushes. I really like these bushes. I've been using them a lot lately. They're just great vegetation. So let's go up the tracks here. We're up through past the siding, and I really like the way this area came out too. This overpass. I like the way the rock cut looks. I like the rocks. I like the vegetation. I like the trees. Oh, I like the hill. I like the signs. I just think it came out kind of nice. I like the way that looks. But if we go just a little further down the line, this is my new lumber industry. This is Three Rivers Lumber. It's going to be the primary lumber industry on my route. It's going to receive the timber coming from my timber industry, which I might also give you a look at here in a minute, although it's been seen on some of the older videos, but maybe not in detail. Anyway, let's take a look around, and then I'll switch into the builder mode so I can show you some of the assets I used. I got most of my inspiration for this lumber industry from Legacy of the BN2. So they had a lot of lumber industry on there. I used some of the same assets. I set it up similar. Doesn't look the same as it does on there, definitely. Mine is a bit bigger than their lumber industry was on that route. I think most of the assets I've used here are freeware. There might be a couple that came with Legacy of the BN2, but you could probably get very similar assets which are freeware and use them instead. So I think that's no issue. But I really like the way it turned out. I'm really happy with this this setup. So hold on and let me switch into the builder mode, and I'll give you a closer look. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see. So now on this side, here on the left side, when we come in, this is the receiving area where we're unloading the logs coming from my timber industry. I hadn't seen this asset before, except for Legacy of the BN2, although it looks fairly older and low detailed. So this might have been something that was either on the game originally, or this might have been something you can get from the download station. I'm not sure. But this section right here, which is these two buildings, that comes with a lot of this lumber just sitting out. Perfect for an area where you're unloading lumber. So it's called Halslager 2. So that would be something you might want to have if you were going to build an area like this. Okay, so for the main buildings, I combined, what did I combine here? So I combined Jointed Rails Nyota Lumber Company, which I'm pretty sure is a regular freeware item. However, I mean, if it wasn't, this is Jointed Rails Wharf Building. This is another, I mean, generic industrial building. You could combine those two together. It'd be the same thing. But I'm pretty sure that's freeware. Now I combine that with this JRBN Wood Chips Company. Now again, this might have came with Legacy BN2, but if it did, you could easily use another generic in industrial building for the same effect. Now where this connects over here, so this is actually a separate thing, this JR Wood Chips loading, for loading wood chips on from this building. Now if this was not freeware, is also, you could easily make that with a couple other freeware items. But these are the main buildings, and then I also used JR Chilcate lumber. So this is my main loading area where we're loading wood products. I sat around a couple of these JR generic steel warehouses. Okay, this warehouse is the JR Diamond River Mining Company general warehouse. That's a great one. I've used several places. So those are the main buildings. The office building here is the office brick version 12DS. This is again one of Dave Snow's brick office buildings, so that worked really well. This little engine house, which I'm using for the switcher engine, JR 2-stall engine shop. Also, I think definitely freeware. So the way I set this up, we have an unloading area for unloading the timber, and in the unloading places I use JR overhead cranes on both sides as the unloading. I set around some more wood to give that a busier look. JR log spruce, JR logs load, long load. So those are easy to get. We set around some machinery like Caterpillar 950G fork loader, several of those, a crane. This is a cool Caterpillar crane. Use that down there. Set up a nice parking lot here in this area. Some trucks over here in the truck loading area. And what I have this thing set up to do, so we unload the logs here on the left side, and I have it set up to unload specifically the timber that I'm using from my timber industry. And based on the good log cars, the best log cars I have, and the best log cars use a certain kind of wood, so I'm using that wood, loading and unloading that wood, which is spruce, which, you know, my industry is set here in West Virginia, so I don't think West Virginia would be having a spruce lumber industry. I think it would be something different, but that's okay. That's an unimportant detail. So we're unloading wood here. Over here we are loading wood chips. So we're unloading timber here. That's the only thing we're unloading. We're loading wood chips on this track right here. We're loading our cars here, and I'm using the center beam cars or bulkhead flat cars, and we're loading the lumber here in this section. And one other thing over here on the side of the main building, I'm loading let's see, what is it called? We are loading pulp bale loads. So some of the newest box cars Jointed Rail had, these FMC box cars, they have a possible load called pulp bale load, which, again, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems to be the wood pulp that you would use for making paper. So anyway, we're going to load those here, and that's something we will unload along with the wood chips in my paper mill. So all these industry go together. We timber from the timber industry coming here to the lumber industry. Wood chips and pulp bales go from the lumber industry to the paper mill. Of course, the regular wood loads, they can go off to anywhere. Eventually, probably on the northern end of my route, I'm going to have some kind of a lumber unloading place, such as like a, I don't know, distribution center for retail lumber, something like that, where I can unload some of the lumber that comes from here too. But anyway, that's how I have it set up. I think it worked out pretty well. There's still probably a couple other things I'll do eventually here. I thought about, setting up a power substation. That might be something that would look good here. Bringing electricity in here. I haven't done that yet. There's still a few more details to do, but that's basically what it's looking like. This was mostly nature through here, not many signs of human activity, but I did add a couple signs of life, like the gas station, a Sheetz gas station, a Dairy Queen down here. By the way, I think both of those are from Dave Snow. So added a couple things down there, and a couple houses over here in this area. Let's see, what else? So I was going to mention, the way I've been doing the trees, using the low detail background trees mostly, and then mixing in some of the higher detail trees in certain places where it's more high visibility, and even just mixed in generally, along the track, every so often mix in better trees. Some places where you're going to have, you're going to view it more often, you're going to have more cameras on there using these trees. And I don't know what you call these trees, this set of good detailed trees that start STRMM something something something, with a lot of names that I don't know what they mean exactly. I think I'm pretty sure on Approach Medium he has discussed those trees too. I also don't know what we would call those, but definitely use a lot of those trees mainly as my high detail trees. What I really like lately, and what I've used a lot of from the same set of trees, are the bushes. And all of the bushes are mostly under STRMM KUST, cust. So under cust you can find a lot of smaller bushes and vegetation. And these just, I think, like you can see, this one here is cust 73, cust 76, cust 75. I just think they look really good. I like those. They fit in a lot of places. They look very nice. They look very like natural vegetation. So I'm using a lot of those. Other places using some of the dub trees, and that's another dub tree. I can't remember all the names, but if you have all of these trees, there's so many of them. You really have to just kind of, it takes a long time to go through and find out which ones are the ones that you want to use. And if you set up a pick list or something, you can put those in a pick list, or just remember the ones you like, or whatever like that. Now, one more thing while I'm in this mode. Let me show you the new section that's coming. So from here, continuing westward, the new section I'm working on is going to be an interchange with Norfolk Southern, because the line, my main line is CSX main line. But I think we're gonna cross the Norfolk Southern main line out here. Maybe not a double track main line, maybe a Norfolk Southern single track, mostly main line. But if we zoom out for a second, my CSX line this is an east-west main line. Now I also have a north-south main line, but the Norfolk Southern, I think, is going to be, I might have it kind of cutting across a little bit from the southwest to the northeast. I don't know how much I'm going to do with that or how far I'm going to build on the Norfolk Southern part, but right here I'm going to have an interchange. So we got on this side of the river, this is going to be the NS line coming up, crossing the river, going under the CSX line, and then up here we're going to have maybe a small interchange yard, and we'll see where that goes. That's the next thing. Now hold on one second and let me switch back into driver mode, into live mode, and then I'll give you a quick look at those other industries that I said are connected to this lumber industry. Alright, back in live mode. So I think I've showed in some of my older videos some of these things, but let's go back and look. So now where this lumber is coming from is going to be my timber industry. So for that, we have to go back all the way to Reedsburg, to the main city, and then we're going to have to go up the northern line. Okay, now there's two ways we can get to the timber industry. We can go up the line going to Lake Town, but we have to go through Lake Town, so let me show you the second entryway. The second entryway to get to our timber industry is going through this area, which goes past the limestone quarry, which is another little industry I have. And when we get back here, this is kind of a pretty area. Got a little bit of a Y here, where we have two ways we can go up through the mountains. So actually I have a logging industry on both sides of this mountain. So one over here, two over here, but these two, this one and this one, I have not upgraded, because later I changed my mind about how I wanted to set up the lumber industry, so I didn't upgrade that section yet. So I'll show you the one that I have upgraded. If we go up this winding mountain line up here. So this is the way I have it set up, the way I want to set up the other two also. So using the this gantry crane, and yeah, this is my little timber industry. I didn't go into a lot of detail, like I didn't actually cut any logging roads going up into the mountain and stuff. I should do that. I haven't done that so far, so it's on the agenda to do that. But that's where the lumber is coming from. Now let's go back to the paper mill. Go back to the paper mill. That is where some of our wood chips and also that pulp bale will be going. So for that, we have to go on the eastern main line, and we have to come out here to this area, which I think I have called Deer Creek. And this is the Deer Creek paper mill out here. And this is another industry that I built a long time ago, and I did have a video on it. And I'm also pretty satisfied with this one too. And it's been upgraded here and there. These new bushes and stuff are something I just put in here to upgrade the look of that. So this is where some of our things can go. The wood chips will unload right here. This is the wood chip unloading area, and the pulp bales, they unload right here on that loading dock. These other docks are for loading paper products. Also have some chemical unloading areas out here too for chemicals needed in making the paper. So, getting more and more industries on my line. Industries are pretty time consuming to build, and that's why I think I didn't do as many industries in the beginning earlier, but now I'm building more. I'm working on that more. Over here, this is unfinished, but I had a coal power plant originally from a long time ago, but now I have upgraded a little bit, but it's unfinished. So I've built it into a bigger power plant, but I've never finished it. So that's something I am working on still. And there's a lot of other little industries that I'm meaning to put in certain places. Thinking about a brewery, a beer brewery. That's the one out there on the eastern area, up on the mountain over here, maybe an apple orchard. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to put in, but it's very time consuming. So do it when you have time. Do it little by little. So I think that's going to be all for now. I'll probably leave on the outro with a couple more images from the new section on my route, maybe a couple steam trains passing by. So talk to you next time. Bye bye.